Hey, everybody, welcome to the After Sermon. I'm Eric, and you already know this, but as a reminder, we get a chance to meet with the communicator and talk about maybe some of the stuff that got left on the floor, things that weren't talked about. And we have a very special guest, Keith Norman. I get to call you friend now because I took you to Shake Shack. You go to Shake Shack with somebody and they are now your friend.
I like it. I like it.
Okay, here's my question for you. As a preacher, what you did this morning is unusual, right? It was unusual because you embodied truly, like if you haven't seen the message or I'd watch it, go to one of our go to YouTube and watch the message, but you embodied the character. Why did you do that?
It's a good question. I think I don't want to, this isn't going to sound spiritual. When I study scripture, I never want it to bore me. And we live in a culture still in 2026 to where I think if we're not careful, we don't value women. So to walk in her shoes as a man was humbling for me. And so I wanted to feel what she felt. But honestly, I probably more than that, I wanted to feel what it was like to be the scribes and Pharisees. Who were trying to frame her or use her as a pawn to capture Jesus the King.
What was when you say you wanted to feel what she felt? Say more about what did you feel? What did she feel?
Yeah, used, and I don't know all of her story, but from what I can gather from the text, being used. Probably even feeling used wasn't her first time. Same with the woman at the well. I know it's a different passage, but in that culture, one of the things that made Jesus special, his ministry said, hey, there's a different way for women. If you study scripture, biblical antiquity, they were not valued.
No.
And so she was, who knows how often she had felt used. I don't think that was the first time. Again, she was just a pawn in the game. And so to know, and one of the things too I liked is she did nothing to deserve what she got from Jesus. So even in my preaching, I'm always hoping that Jesus ultimately is the star. I think that lady and the scribes and Pharisees, I even think I mentioned it, their sins were akin. And so, yeah, I just feel like she probably felt like she was going to die even.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, in that culture to sit in that space.
She was literally called.
Yeah, that was bad news. She was, I love that you say you want to make sure that Jesus is the star, but I do think there's something in what Jesus does because she was a pawn that he makes, I'm not going to overstate it, but he makes her central, not just by how he responds, but I love you point this out. It was just her and him at the end. They were the last two. What does that say about who Jesus really is?
Well, he's love. He doesn't have to, I don't want to disrespect you, Jesus. He doesn't have to work hard at being love. He is love, and we get to see that he's love that's not earned. We live in a culture where you have to earn love.
Yeah, right.
And with him, she's the perfect person for all of us because we're probably most of the people that watch this are going to be church oriented. And if you're watching, you can't earn his love. You can't. And we're fortunate there. This lady didn't perform at all. She didn't ask him to save her. She was ready for whatever happened. And he showed us grace. And so love, grace, mercy, those things are so inextricably intertwined. Because they're Jesus, you know, they're a person.
It's interesting. You and I were talking about this because here's Jesus, John chapter 8. This is how this whole interaction starts, right? It starts with this woman, and you keep you walk through John, And I love the point that you made at the end of the message about seeing yourself, not inviting people in because you see they're messed up, but that you see you're messed up. It's sad to me because here's a group of people that watch Jesus perform absolute unbelievable acts of love. Starts in 8, goes to John 9, heals a man out in the alley who's blind. And there are just sometimes when we're blind. And some of the people who are most blind are the ones who are around the truth most often. What is that? What is that dichotomy? What is that thing going on?
I think when you just study the Gospel of John, period, it's all about dialogues, discourses, and deity. Jesus uses dialogue and discourses in every conceivable way to keep kind of yelling and screaming, I'm deity. I'm God. Now, the problem with the scribes and Pharisees, they were not willing to accept that. So the danger is religion felt good to them. It's probably the case with a lot of us church people. Something feels good about when I can do.
Yeah.
Even Keith Norman. So I scratched my original ending. A young lady in college, I was a new Christian, and I loved the Bible. Knew some scripture, out of context. And I was sitting in the cafeteria with 2 female friends, and I was addressing their sin with them. And I was talking, I'm 19 years old, talking to them about their sin. And one of them looked at me and she said, pride comes before the fall. And it wasn't just that she was quoting a verse, it's like she was wishing the verse on me. She wasn't the problem, I was. I was very self-righteous. I was a new Christian on fire for God. Again, I knew some verses that I quoted, no context whatsoever.
Yeah.
That's very Pharisaical. I wasn't trying to beat them up. I was trying to teach them to perform. I didn't know that. Now at 56, I still remember that story. The only reason I bring that up is it's easy for us church folk to fall into that. It feels good to know that I memorized these verses. I prayed for an hour. I even cried during prayer time. None of those things makes God love us. And it also feels good when your spiritual gymnastics gets you speaking engagements, gets you the best seats in the house, in the temple or whatever. And I always tell the church that I pastor, our goal is not to go higher, but to go lower.
Yeah.
And so Jesus literally did that with this lady. I didn't say this today, and I didn't want to over engage in homiletics, but him even stooping down, you can kind of stay there and make that a preaching point.
Yeah, for sure.
It's something about that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think the point that you're getting to in terms of, how do we see ourselves in the scribes and the Pharisees? How do we make sure that we don't take our sin off the table because someone else and this is what we do, right? This is what humans do. We go,
That uncle that we have that drinks all the time.
At least I'm not him.
Yeah.
But I heard this phrase, and I think about it often. If you were to, this is written, I don't remember who wrote it, but if holiness was a jumping contest, it's like Mother Teresa, or find the holiest person you can find, someone that you really respect. I mean, they might have a 46-inch vertical, right? And then somebody who's like this woman, they 1 inch, right? And so when we see it, there's a big difference. But if you're standing on the moon looking at both those verticals, they look exactly the same. And that's God, right? Where he looks down and it's like there is very little difference. Almost, it's undetectable between.
Our righteousness is like filthy rags, period.
Yeah.
Period.
So what do we, as we wrap up our time, what's something that we can do? Those of, we know we have a lot of folks that, they do love Jesus, but we can easily find ourselves in the role of the scribe and the Pharisees. What's the antidote to that?
I want to be honest, in everything I do, I struggle with the antidote. I know it theoretically. I don't always practice it existentially, but the antidote is what I used to do. I got a guy to build me a prayer altar years ago, And I was expecting some little thing he would bring in the house. It was the Cadillac of prayer altars. It was
That's
huge.
awesome.
And so there were many mornings I would go there to pray, and instead of kneeling at it, I would lay my body on the ground and put my head on the part where your knees should go, and I would put my hands like this, and I would simply say, I receive your grace today.
Wow.
And I think for people that will be watching this, I don't know your demographic or your audience, but I know church people, we got to learn to realize we can do nothing. He did it all. And I feel like shouting now. I know we're doing a podcast, but like he really did it all.
Yeah.
Hezekiah Walker. Y'all need to check him out.
Bro, he's
he has a song from like 1997
those were
called Christ Did It All.
I know that song.
And it repeats the same refrain. Christ literally did it all. And so like he told that woman to go sin no more. Again, her lifestyle was a response to his grace. So you should do some things, but as a response, it wasn't the reason for his grace. And so that's what we have to get. I don't care how many services I preach today, even if people come up to me and hug me and said, hey, you blessed me. That's not the reason for his grace. I preach as a response to it. And that's what we have to get. Church people, preachers, it's hard for us to get that. We know how to perform. We don't know that we're doing it, but to just rest in him. So when you ask me the question, I'm still trying to practice it. I know it. I read it in the scriptures, but grace, I tell my wife all the time, grace is a bigger deal than we've made it.
Yeah.
It really is.
I think there's something so beautiful in that. How many times do we see throughout scripture, Luke chapter 7, same story. She loved much because she was forgiven much. There is this pattern of a response, but humans, we are forgetful. And so we get saved and we forget that we were ever in need of being saved. I think that's a beautiful reminder, like the constant bringing ourselves back to, if not for grace, right? If it weren't for grace, I would be in the same shoes as
I
my
could
uncle.
tell you where I'd be. Lauren L. Harris. Wandering down some pointless road to nowhere with my salvation up to me.
So good. Well, on that, that's a good closing point. Plus, you got to preach, so I probably had to get you out of here. Hey, I'm so glad that you joined us. You can hear all this message. I want to tell you, go watch or listen to this. It's an incredible message. Any podcasting platform of your choosing, we're there. Go to our YouTube page. But so grateful. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Thanks for preaching.
Thank you.